time for the show the show with no name.
There you
We
go.
still
Show.
I mean, it's as good as anything, right? And it's a little different, huh? With my man Arturo Dominguez, and, we were just talking about this crazy weather, while everybody's, sort of filing into the chat, and, here, Monday and Tuesday, it was cold enough for us to, like, check the pipes, make sure we leave water running, and today you could just bait well, I'm wearing a t-shirt.
Yeah.
So and I don't know, I think our weather is probably gonna be pretty similar to yours, Arturo.
Yeah. I mean, we're, mid to upper 70s today. It's
Well,
going to get a little cooler tonight, but it's going to be 70s tomorrow again. And then I think Christmas, they said, is going to be close to 80. So welcome to Texas.
so yeah, our air conditioner is actually running for a minute, just kinda,
Mine
because
is
we're
too. That's
well, you get to that middle place where it's not really
Yep.
warm enough, and it's not hot enough, so anyway. So folks, we got a lot of stuff going on. I was preparing for just what I thought was going to be our main conversation, and about I don't know, maybe in the last 30 minutes, maybe the last hour, um, Axios announced that TikTok is finally going to get sold or broken up or sold or I haven't even seen all the particulars. I don't even know if they're out, but the lead investor is going to be, surprise surprise, Oracle, which means Larry Ellison, which also ties into Paramount Plus Skydance, or Skydance Paramount as it is now, and all kinds of AI. So we just don't even know all the implications until we get more, more, just more information on it. But it's probably not going to be great. Um, well, I should say it like this: the folks who've been making tons of money are gonna make tons of money on this deal,
Yeah.
and so, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Arturo.
I mean, I keep thinking of the Larry Ellison thing and, you got the CBS and all that stuff. And then now with TikTok and, yeah, like you were just saying, I mean, you have to have the money to be able to buy into these things. And,
Well,
with all the
I
money,
just feel like it's really easy to stay rich once you get real rich.
right, keep getting richer, right? And
You
taking
know?
ownership of everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like we could put a little consortium together and, like, make a bid, right?
Right.
So, yeah, it's more the same. Um, did you watch the Trump speech? I guess that's what they're calling it. I just
Yeah.
did not. I just don't wanna have to, hear him any more than absolutely necessary.
I did watch it because, I had people, up in DC that were telling me that he might announce a strike on Venezuela.
That's what
And
I thought it was gonna be.
man, my wife and I could not stop laughing because all he did was yell at us about how good the economy's doing. I mean, gas prices are down and eggs are down like 80%, and they're just screaming at people like, look,
Really?
I know the economy sucks, but I'm gonna beat it into your head that it's doing good,
You don't
okay?
know how good you
Like,
got it.
we could not stop laughing because he was just yelling and his cadence was off and like he was reading a prompter but he was going fast and like it was almost like he did an 8 ball of coke before he got on the microphone because I mean he was screaming at everybody. I don't
What?
get it. Yeah,
Okay. That is, man, maybe I need to
right.
go find it on YouTube or something, because, I could
I mean, it didn't
it
last too long,
well, it's only
about
yeah, it was only like, what, 15 minutes, something like that?
something like that, yeah. And it's really annoying to listen to that guy, but yeah, a lot of what he said was just nonsensical, and we're just like, really, eggs are that cheap? Like
And
I was just at the grocery store.
you cannot get just a straight answer on anything out of this guy, because
Yeah.
or I mean, any of them, because I saw or I heard, and I don't even know what outlet it was, but, someone asked, Carolyn Levitt, why if things are going okay, why exaggerate? Just say what,
Yeah.
instead of saying that inflation is 2.5%, just say what it is, right? And her answer back was just crazy. And and this morning, same thing happened with Kevin Hassett. Now, he's the head of the Council of Advisors. That's not the right description, but basically the Council of Economic Advisors that, supposed to represent economic policy for the president. And this guy wants to be Fed chairman so bad. You know, yeah, he wants to be Fed chairman so bad. And somebody on Morning Joe asked him the same question. It's like, you know, if gas is cheap, you don't have to say it's $1.50. Just say what it is, right? And then they asked him two or three things, and his answer was, "Well, they didn't show the charts. They were supposed to show, they were supposed to show the charts, man, and people would understand." Yeah, so they didn't. Hmm. I should tell people just while I just happen to. So last Friday, if you were on with us last Friday, I broke my leg. So those are not my wife's crutches behind you. Those are mine. And you notice I'm in a little slightly different um, locale here. And that's because I have to keep my leg propped up. Doctor's order.
I was about to say that.
So, so,
Poor guy.
so yeah, I know it's rough, man. Just having to sit and have people go get things for you. But you
Yeah.
know, I'm gonna milk it for the next
I was
6
I
or
was about to say the
7
same
weeks.
thing.
I
You
mean,
built the bed out.
yeah, but honestly, it's a real drag because I'm having to wear this boot. And what's so bad about it is I was actually like tomorrow, I'm getting an MRI on my shoulder because a couple of years ago just a minor thing, I fell off my okay, folks, I'm clumsy. Let's just get I fell off my bike, okay? And that's it.
That's funny.
And I kind of did something, kind of tweaked my shoulder, but I didn't think it was a big deal, but it's just been nagging. And so they're going to do an MRI to figure out if, they think I kind of tore my rotator cuff, and it took like 2 or 3 years to sort of manifest because, that's what happens when you're old. But
Yeah. The littlest thing, I'm telling you.
I know, man. So people, please don't look at me too hard because anything could break.
It's funny.
What are you going to do?
So, yeah, man, a couple things like this week. I don't know. One
Oh,
of the
hang on. Let me close the loop on this. So Natasha,
okay, yeah.
I lost the negotiation with my back stairs outside. It had been raining, and I was rushing outside to do something, and I don't even remember what it was now. And I had on some flip flops, and so here we are. Don't do that, people. Do not do that. Do not go on wooden stairs with flip flops after a rain. Take,
Especially if you're old.
that's my professional opinion.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I'm limping around here and, just in time for Christmas. Maybe I'll get better presents, huh? I'll let you know.
Maybe. You never know.
Look,
You
hint,
never
hint,
know.
hint, hint. So yeah, anyway, in all seriousness, you were gonna say, go right ahead, man, because we
No.
really need to get on the whole situation with Venezuela.
Yeah. So like a few weeks ago, I wanted to touch on this real quick. I sent a thing to, Allison, right? Dr. Wills, and
Right. Yeah.
it was about the Justice Department lifting a consent decree on the New Orleans Police Department, right? And
Okay.
and I don't know, what consent decrees are, but for
For the
viewers who
police
may not
department.
know, right? Yeah. So a consent decree is basically an agreement with the police department and the Department of Justice, and it's typically after an investigation by the DOJ of a police department that has like a history of violating people's constitutional rights, using violence and stuff like that. So New Orleans had one since like 2012, 2014, somewhere in there. And I sent it to Allison because, she's in New Orleans. And we talked about it a little bit, and it had me thinking because I keep seeing these emails about consent decrees being, lifted, taken off of police departments. So I decided to do a search on the DOJ website. And man, there's a ton. Like
Oh
police
yeah.
department
Well,
has
they
like
did
a
the same thing his
warehouse.
first term, didn't they? Where I'm
Yeah.
trying, wasn't it like maybe like after Michael Brown didn't the like what is it? Kansas City or what I'm trying to remember where his murder or death occurred, but East St. Louis, East St. Louis.
Yeah.
I think that police department did a consent decree, and there were several, and
Yeah.
I mean they just basically vacated them.
Yeah, that's essentially what they did. And there's something around 8 departments that had their consent decrees taken away, and they were all big police departments, Phoenix, New Orleans,
Mm,
a couple in New Jersey, and then there was a lot like Minneapolis, Memphis. They all were under investigation with
right.
a recommended consent decree that hadn't made it to court yet, and
Hmm.
they ended those investigations, and basically on a lot of these police departments, they threw out any evidence, they redacted any evidence of constitutional violations and stuff like that. And, I remember Trump's executive order from April where he was talking about unleashing the police.
Hmm.
And I decided to go through that again because I reported on it when it came out. And sure enough, there's a whole paragraph in there that asked, the DOJ to go through and reevaluate all the consent decrees and basically remove them. And I was like, there you go. This is Trump's unleashing of the police, and it's scary to think about because you got ICE running around doing whatever they want. Cops are part of it now with the 287G program, and now they're not under any kind of oversight from the federal government. So, a lot of these departments are really problematic with really bad internal affairs systems and things like that. So, yeah, I just thought that was worth mentioning because I reported on it today, and when I was looking it up, there's not a lot of coverage about these consent decrees being lifted, and that's why I decided to just kind of go through it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but it's really scary, especially when you're looking at a city that has ICE in it, like New Orleans right now, and they no longer have a consent decree. I don't know. It's just to me, it's kind of an alarming situation to like take it away, especially from police departments where George Floyd was killed, Breonna Taylor, Tyree Nichols, all of them. It's just crazy that they would just lift them like that in the middle of investigations and stuff.
There's going to be so much when we get to the other side of this. There's just going to be so much that is going to have to be, unwound, redone, fixed, whatever. I saw at some point today that now the Kennedy Center is going to be the like the Trump hyphen Kennedy. Who does that? I mean, just the whole idea. Generally, there are two ways to get your name on the side of a building. Either you're like a big donor, and that's usually, in college, university situations,
Right.
or you're dead.
Yeah.
you don't you don't name a building, or your name is Donald Trump. I mean, you don't see people running around putting their name on stuff. I'm sure he's wanting to change the name of what is it, Ronald Reagan Airport. In
Absolutely.
I'm surprised he hadn't already tried to do it.
He's like
But
he's like the cat that pisses on everything to take ownership of it.
oh yeah, I got a cat like that. I've heard of cats like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's a lot, man. It really is.
Mhm.
So
And that
we
yeah.
we got some economic numbers this morning, and I haven't, I just don't really do cable news, so I don't know what who's getting interviewed, but I would imagine that um, the Trump surrogates are talking about this was CPI, the Consumer Price Index, and on the face of it, first of all, this is for November. but we don't really have a lot of the data because of the shutdown. Got no data for October. So, what there's a combination of the way this is supposed to work. You look at what they call year over year. So compared to this time last year. And then you look at month to month. But the way these numbers are generally presented, um, they give you what they call a core number. And I want to say that's X food and energy. So, gasoline, for example, they don't really count that. They don't count groceries. And the reason is those are all commodities. So they're just going to fluctuate a lot just from one month to the next. But but by including all that data, uh, it gives you like a smooth picture you can look at over the months. And then you can look at year over year, over years. So um, this time we didn't have the monthly data. I mean, basically November is sort of like a morph between part of October's numbers that, the data they did have. And so, anyway, all that to say, it was a slightly better number, like 2.7%, annually, but we don't have all the data in there. So it's really just kind of a throwaway number because until we can get back to 2 or 3 months of collecting data in the regular way, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, but it doesn't mean inflation is coming down,
Right.
which is what they're trying. So last night I heard he was saying that inflation was coming down. Now,
Yeah.
just so you know, the day before these numbers come out, so when Trump did that speech, he already knew what the numbers were. Because what happens is Kevin Hassett, the guy I mentioned earlier, just by virtue of his role, the BLS produces those numbers, and I want to say like 4:30 the day before, 4:30 in the afternoon. That information goes to him, which I'm sure he would have shared with the president. So maybe that's what he meant about the charts. But
I mean, maybe.
I mean, but because they would have known that this was a little. I mean, even at 2.7%, that's still inflation. I mean, let me put it this way: we're always going to have inflation of some level if the economy is just kind of steadily growing along. 2% inflation is what the Fed has said that's an acceptable level. 2.7 doesn't sound like a lot, but you just have to keep in mind it's been 3% and higher pretty much for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 2% would be 2% would be ideal, but we ain't there yet.
Right.
But, as far as Trump is concerned, we got zero inflation.
Right. And this goes back to what you said about how once we get back to normal, whatever that is anymore, excuse me, we have to put so many things back in place. And I keep thinking back to, I said something earlier this year that the Trump administration is doing so much damage, when Doge was cutting and all that stuff, that it's going to take us a decade or more to recover. And the more they pick apart and the more they take away, the harder that's just more stuff for us to try to recover. And I just, their damage is going to be long lasting, um, even like to segue into Venezuela, right? Even with the rhetoric about Venezuela, in just a year, think of all the different narratives the White House put out there about Maduro, right? He went from dictator to drug dealer to head of the Tren de Aragua to head of Cartel de los
They're
Soles.
going to make him the head of ISIS before too long, man.
Right, right. And then, and then now, all of a sudden, a year later, we're back to the original game. We want to take their oil. They owe us. It's our oil. It's our. You know what I mean? Like claiming
That's
ownership
crazy.
already. Right. That was just bonkers to say that. And it's like there goes 20 years of propaganda out the window, dude. Like he is the incompetence in the White House. They just unwittingly gave the whole game away about Venezuela. And then, the open messing with like Honduras's elections and Chile's elections and things like that. It really brings everything they ever said about any other country into question. So like everything they ever said about Venezuela, everybody should be questioning it. Is Maduro really a dictator? You know, that is a matter of opinion. Because if you ask Elizabeth Raven, who's in the chat right now, she's going to tell you he's not, you know, but people who fled Venezuela and are here in the US, they're going to tell you he is. So,
You know what's so funny to me, man? We're sitting up here and we got a guy that's trying to be a dictator and a whole party trying to convince us he's not. Hey, Dana Dubois, my friend from Gen Xy.
yeah, yeah.
Welcome.
Love their show.
I know, right? It's great. Yeah, it's
Who's on there?
I would just say, man, we're in a place now as a country where we really kind of just need to just be quiet because
Almost. I
I
mean,
mean because we don't have any. What is our credibility going forward? I mean, you talk about stuff that we're going to have to spend a decade or two on trying to rebuild. Just on a global policy stage, we've just given away so much. And honestly, people can say what they want, and this isn't even like Trump could hardly do more to harm America if he really, really, really was like a spy. I mean, what would he do that he hasn't done? What? I mean, pretty much. I mean, I think about before Trump. I've known lots of Republicans. I've voted for Republicans. I've even campaigned. I mean, it's been a long time ago. Campaigned for Republicans. Met guys like Jack Kemp and all these. I didn't hate them. I didn't. It wasn't like. uh, It wasn't like if they had some view that I didn't like. We couldn't like have a conversation, right?
right.
And so I think that is part of what he's just done. I hate to say successfully, but there are a lot of folks I'm just not gonna fool with now.
Right.
On the other hand, I have neighbors that, just right around me. I know that they probably voted for Trump. Eh, what are you gonna do? You're just not gonna speak to these folks. I mean, they're nice. They go out of town. We look out, and when we go out of town, they look out for us. I'll sometimes you walk out and on my wooden steps that I fell down, and there might be like a little, like they've been on a trip somewhere and they got a little gift, just the normal stuff that people do. And now this guy has poisoned all of it with this MAGA shit, and you just got to be really wary of what you say and who you say it around. And I mean, it's to the point now that if all they got to do is say, "Oh, you're an Antifa," and I guess what they can deport you to Uganda or somewhere.
Who knows, right? Yeah. I
I
mean,
know.
they're talking about denaturalizing people now too, and like there was a thing come out today, where like they're asking, Citizenship and Immigration Services (USCIS) to send like 100 to 150 people a month to go into like denaturalization proceedings, and it's like there's no criteria. It's just said send us 100 to 150 a month,
You
and
know,
it's just scary, like how far
well,
they're
it's just
willing to
like
go
this
back.
business of the, um, birthright citizenship.
Yeah,
What's the Supreme Court going to do with that? I
I
mean,
don't know.
how? So I was just thinking about this yesterday, and I'm just like, okay, if it becomes, it's not good enough that you were born here, you got to prove your parents were born here. Well, I'm black from Arkansas.
Yep.
I'll try. I
Yep.
mean, now I can say this. I can say, like with stuff like ancestry. I actually did the DNA thing. So I guess, I mean, maybe that's what's the proof? I can show that I was actually surprised how far back I could trace my lineage. I mean, I got back to the 1700s. Yeah, I mean, but just off of government data, you know? But still, who's walking around with that,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
Yeah, and like Border Patrol, somebody at Border Patrol was recently saying how everybody should be carrying or required to carry identification, and it's like that's not true. That's true for immigrants, right? You have to
Yeah,
prove your
yeah, I
citizenship.
mean,
You have to
and so
give
what
it.
are we now, like Russia? Or got
Right. Like
walking around with papers and passports and
right, like what am I supposed to show you? Like, half the times you show an agent something and they'll just say it's fake and take you in.
well, I
And
was just
so
gonna say, when you talk about that, man, I've seen numerous stories. US citizens with a passport or some sort or a
military.
real ID. Or I saw someone in the chat just a minute ago said they couldn't get their real ID. I haven't got mine because
I haven't either.
I was raised by a stepfather. And back in my day, you didn't like do an official adoption. My mom remarried, she changed her name. That they changed my name to his name, and that was it. So now going back, oh man, I got all kind of in my birth certificate. My last name is misspelled. My first name is spelled IN instead of ON.
Oh,
So I don't even know what to do with that. So yeah, I'm gonna probably have to go get a lawyer and get some sort of legal, I don't know, whatever the lawyers say, just to get a real ID and a passport. But I think you probably better hurry.
yeah, like for me, my hang up has just been trying to get my birth certificate because I was born in Jersey, I live in Texas, and
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out an easy way to do that. But it's my ID's expired, so I don't know what's going to be required anymore, and I've just like kind of been real slow about it.
And you know what's so funny, man? My driver's license expired in New York, and it was such a hassle.
Yeah,
I just was like, I don't even drive anyway, so whatever. And I was able to go through TSA and all that stuff for like 2 years with
expired
with
ID.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, as long as the address was correct and it looked like me, they were just like, "Going through."
right. If it's not tampered with, it's still valid.
Yeah, not
Technically
now
for
though.
identification purposes. Yeah, yeah, that's wild. Yeah, the whole real ID situation has got me all kind of screwed up about it. It used to be just so easy. You're already in the system.
Oh, I know. Yeah, now
Just gotta,
it's a thing.
yeah. Now they treat you like, you might be illegal, and it's like it's ridiculous. So yeah, it's another example of how they use like immigration to impact even US citizens' lives. You know what I mean? So now now it's not reasonable doubt that you're a citizen, right? Now it's just let's assume everybody's illegal and make everybody prove that, you know, that they're legit and they should have a real ID.
Well,
It's
the only thing about all of this stuff is we know if if your parents came here from Europe, you're probably not
yeah,
gonna have to prove a whole lot, right?
right.
But heaven help if your folks came here from Haiti or
Yeah.
or whatever. So I don't, the thing I think about this a lot today. I thought about this a lot today. All these people there trying to get out of the country. Has anybody in the administration done the math on the economic damage they're causing? Because you can't, on one hand, be talking about all this economic growth. At the same time, you're getting rid of people who do the work.
Right.
So all of these, I don't even know what the number is as like at this moment, but undocumented immigrants were doing probably a third of the construction work.
Yeah, it was somewhere around
So
that.
you're talking about, you know, and JD Vance says there's 30,000. It's not that many undocumented folks, but let's just say it's because I gave a lecture on this, and this was just like a bullet point. But let's say there's 10 million people here undocumented. We just like in October, it's finally started coming out, but we had and 60,000 people drop out of the workforce um, because of the Doge layoffs. We didn't really see it because we didn't get October numbers, and I've talked about this ad nauseum.
Point.
But it showed up a couple of days ago. That is why the payroll number for October, even though it's not as solid as it normally would be, we lost. I forget what the number is now. Um, 100,000 jobs, I think. I have to go back and look, but it was a negative number for October.
Yeah.
Well, that's the reason, because we had like the most people drop out of the federal workforce, I think, in history, like in 1 month.
That's right.
And it was all these people that took the Doge deals and other, and other groups that where they just went in. You just got to think about like USAID and all those people. Everybody basically was paid until the end of the fiscal year, which is September 30th. So September 30th, 160,000 jobs, poof, right?
Wow.
Hey there, Ziggy. One of the things I really would love to improve on this is how we can interact with the chat folks in the chat group. But
Yeah.
I'm sure Substack will get around to it, or I'm sure they'll get around to it. I'm sure they'll take note of my complaint. But yeah, anyway, I mean, it's just who's thinking about that, right? You
Right.
talking about 6 figures in a month, and then I'll bet you, um, Jerome Powell actually alluded to this. The way that they do these numbers, especially the job numbers and the inflation numbers, is they don't really expect that first number you see to be 100% accurate. And I don't even know how you can be 100% accurate, but that's why you see those revisions. So the next time we get unemployment or CPI or any of these, you'll see like going back 2 months where they will, they'll revise stuff because they know that, companies aren't doing the surveys on time. They submit stuff late. Maybe they oversample or, any number of things. So they have to know the shape that we're in. And look,
Right.
I'm not trying to say we're in a depression or anything like that. Maybe a recession. I don't even think we're in that yet because we've got a situation where we're starting to shed jobs. Companies aren't hiring. They may not be aggressively like firing, where they're wiping out big groups. They're probably doing it over the months, right? So we really aren't going to know until retrospect. But something's happening. And at the same time that's happening, prices are going up.
Right.
So you're not really going to have a recession in that environment. But it's like these guys aren't paying any attention. I'm folks, I'm telling you, I've been looking at numbers like this since um back in the 80s. I mean, it's really kind of interesting. I was lucky. At least I consider myself lucky in the sense that I came along at a time when to be in this finance business, you didn't have to have an MBA. You didn't. I didn't have a college degree. They were just looking at people who could be coached. They just wanted guys that understood how to sell stuff. So, I was sitting in a room with with guys that had formerly been car salesmen and all this kind of stuff. But I had these old school dudes that basically taught you how to do stuff longhand. I've just not seen this kind of activity before in, you know, since from the 80s till now. So I guess that's why I belabor this stuff so because it is so strange. And I sit up and I'll watch like Bloomberg, which is really, if you're looking at financial news, eh, coming from like a trading environment, that's what everybody focuses on. Now, CNBC too, but it's Bloomberg first. And these people are talking about some of this stuff like It's normal.
Yeah.
They're talking about Kevin Hassett, and well, if he gets to be Fed chairman, is it going to be a problem that if he tries to you know do what the president wants? And you're damn right, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
And no, it's like a stupid question.
Yeah, I think, when it comes to, like, when you were saying, I don't know if they're paying attention, or if I think they are. And I think, like, the whole thing with Trump last night, I think they're just trying to gaslight people, and hoping that eventually, the lie will catch up, and what they're saying will be true. But, it's like the whole thing with immigration and all that stuff. They tried to paint everybody as criminals, and we all know there aren't that many migrant criminals in this country. So now they're labeling anybody who crossed the border a criminal, right? And they're calling everybody the worst of the worst. And, if everybody's the worst of the worst, nobody is, right? So it's just like,
Exactly.
right, it doesn't make any sense. And it's like they're trying to manufacture a truth that fits all these lies they've been telling us.
The only problem with it is, and I agree with you, but the only problem is they can't come up with one single truth that
Right.
includes all the different shit so if the economy's doing great, what are we doing lowering interest rates? There's no truth. There's no, that doesn't fit.
Right. Like, any good propaganda has a sprinkle of truth in it, right? And
Hmm.
that's the thing. Like, when you look at their numbers of arrests, and they're like, we're going to create the worst of the worst database, and they posted it on their website, on the DHS website. And you go there, and it's fewer than 5% are, like, actual like criminals, like, that could be classified as the worst of the worst. They've arrested 200,000 people, and maybe 9,000 are actual criminals. And it's
Huh,
like, this is your own database, your own data. Like, you're telling us 70% are criminals. Everybody else who's analyzing the little bit of data that's out there is saying, like, 70% aren't. And now it looks like only 5% are. So, like, none of it.
man.
There's so many lies that even the truth doesn't make sense anymore.
So, so,
What the hell?
okay. Prime example is this Vanity Fair. Uh,
Oh,
what, I haven't gotten past the pictures.
I
these
know.
these photographers, I could just see that guy going, I'm gonna show y'all. Because this dude, each person he took, and apparently this is his style. They knew who the guy was.
Right.
They had looked at his portfolio and they knew exactly who was taking the photos. But this dude was like, I'm gonna show the evil in each one of
Yeah.
you.
Something. Yeah.
I mean, you could see the the needle marks where homegirls getting their lips pumped. And I was like, oh, that's mean. But you know what? Then she said something today, and I was like, good. I'm glad you you deserve it. But I mean, you could see like Marco Rubio is sort of like he's got, I don't know, I guess he's been getting a little work. See, I was lucky, man. I've got a relatively symmetrical head, so I didn't really mind shaving my head. Marco Rubio's got a lot of weird stuff going on right in here.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
honestly, dude, honestly, I've never seen it was like Dorian Gray level shit. I was like, dude, these like somebody just took the words out of my mouth. Stephen Miller, I thought I was looking at an old Nazi picture. You know,
Yeah.
it's in black and white, and he looks like something between Nosferatu or I don't even know, man. That guy's scary looking. And he's not,
Yeah.
what is he? 40? He's not even
Something like
50,
that.
right?
Yeah, he's like 40. He's like 10 years younger than me, or 11 years younger than me. Yeah, something like
Mm,
that. And I think Caroline Levitt's only 28.
I know. Well, that's a whole different story. And look, oh, hey, I May December marriages and all that stuff, notwithstanding, this that's I don't know what it is with these folks. And
Yeah.
okay, the plastic surgery,
Yeah.
these young women and these old ass men, and I, as an old ass man, I'm just saying, what's what's going on here?
Yeah.
And then
No.
they're all weird that we're looking at them sideways about this Epstein stuff. Which, okay, I opened that door.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I mean, but it's just wow.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of, I think it was today, Nicolas Maduro sent a message to Trump essentially saying that a war with Venezuela is not going to make the Epstein files go away. And I thought, oh, like, hold on.
Oh, shots fired.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Oh,
uh, you know,
well,
I think,
so wait, Democrats released some more stuff. Is this coming from, um, like the Epstein estate? Because there's also what tomorrow they're supposed to release some stuff, which I noticed Dan Bongino don't want none of that.
right.
He's like,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. I thought that's why he wanted
I'm gonna
to
take a
do.
leave of absence.
Yeah. Yeah. They said he wants to get back to his podcasting and, social media guy. And that kind of tracks because a lot of federal agents apparently were complaining about Bongino being more worried about his online, his what people see him as
His
online.
influencer, his Q rating
Yeah,
though.
yeah, right. He's more worried about his image than he was about FBI work. And
So
the guy.
Arturo, do you know anything about this? Someone dropped in the chat, and I'm not really up on this about the Democrats who voted for some sort of child
Yeah.
search. What's the story?
So I haven't really read the full text of the bill, but essentially there's the bill that passed yesterday that allows ICE to do, search a child's body like, pretty invasive. And yeah, there was several Democrats. I can't rem Pablo Migrant Insider here on Substack has an article that has everybody listed in there. He put them on blast. Because yeah, it was I found it really odd to see Democrats vote for something like that. And in the back of my mind,
I mean, what could be the possible logic?
I
Oh, somebody just posted. So let me see who we got here. See, these
here we
aren't.
are. I see
Oh
Henry
well.
Cuellar, of course. Wow, Vicente Gonzalez.
So these are all, what I mean. What is Jared Golden in Maine worried about? Canadians?
Kills me to see so many Latinos in there. And like, I know in the back of my mind, I thought, ICE does this shit already anyway. Like you hear the nonstop reports of invasive, searches of children and stuff like
What are
that.
you talking about?
And it's,
Strip searches and this type of thing?
yeah, I mean, yeah, essentially like if you're putting a kid in a freaking juvenile detention center or something. And
Uh,
yeah, they do that and have been getting away with it. And anytime they get caught, there's big issues about it. And essentially they legalized it now. So, ICE can do it essentially at will.
hmm.
And, it's a shame. Like, I see Henry Cuellar's name in there and some of these other Democrats, and like, ooh, Henry Cuellar really kills me.
Hmm.
And what it really kills me because Pelosi put her, finger on the scale for him
I
over,
remember that. I remember
yeah.
that
And like he's
because he was
anti-abortion.
running. He was running against a woman, right?
Right, yeah, progressive, right, in the primary. And you like Democrats always say we don't attack other Democrats during the primaries. Well, Pelosi did, Jeffries did, even when Cuellar got his house got raided by the FBI and he was indicted and him and his wife were indicted for bribery and taking money from foreign governments and stuff. Democrats rallied around him, They didn't do that for Bob Menendez, who's in prison, by the way. And but they rallied around the anti-abortion guy in Texas, and it really kills me, man. Sometimes Democrats really kill me.
Yeah, they make it real hard. I mean, I was looking back just historically. I mean, a lot of the gains that we've made. I mean, basically, almost all of the progressive gains. Democrats have come through, but god dang, man, of late I just am like, well, okay, for example, today, Democrats commissioned this autopsy after action report. What do you want to call it? Spent money,
A lot of it.
and they're not gonna tell us what it said. Interviewed hundreds of people, and it's not gonna get released because it's not good for the party.
I can
For us
almost
to
guarantee
know,
you. I can almost guarantee you it says they weren't progressive enough, and that's what they're afraid of.
I hadn't even
Has to
thought
be.
about it that way, dude.
Has to
But
be.
it's
Every
probably
every
it's
every postmortem I've seen has, has all the same elements, and a lot of it was the whole, talking down to voters, trying to appeal to conservatives, abandoning progressives, not even giving progressives a voice. There was a lot of that in there, and I have a feeling that that's what's in there. And for the party people, especially,
well between that and Gaza too, because I
yeah, of
I
course,
remember the moment it became clear the night they let that Jewish couple speak, and I kept kind of waiting. Is there
Palestinian.
going to be a Palestinian person? You can't tell me you can't find a non-controversial Palestinian. And when
Plenty of those
they,
available.
dude, when they were supposed to be negotiating, and if Kamala Harris made any mistake, is listening to Biden's folks and these consultants. And
I'm convinced they set her up, dude. I'm convinced they
dude,
set her up.
dude, and she damn near pulled it out anyway.
Right.
That's why a lot of folks, well, we need to move on. I mean, we never tell guys that. Joe Biden, it was his third time running for president, and the first time he ran for president, he dropped out for plagiarism.
Right.
So
Every one of his,
nobody
every
said
one of his,
no, he doesn't need to run anymore.
right. Every one of his presidential runs was like riddled with stories that things that didn't happen, plagiarism, you know, all this, the corn pop stuff. I mean, all this stuff. It's just a lot of it. And this time around, when he ran, it was the same thing. He was essentially trying to portray himself as this civil rights activist type of guy, like he was pro civil rights movement, and he wasn't. And he got called out for that, but they still pushed him, out there, and they never said, like you said, they never said, dude, you've tried this 8 times, it's always been a problem. Sit down, we're gonna find somebody else. It kills me. It really kills me because
Well, the problem we got now is I don't know who the somebody else. Well, I have some ideas, but they're not
you
going to
never put
like
up
them.
yet. Like there
Well,
was like,
look at what's happening in your state with Jasmine Crockett.
oh yeah, right. Well, Jasmine Crockett, plenty to criticize, especially when it comes to Israel, but I do see a lot of misogynoir, man. Same shit that you saw with Harris. And, Tallarico isn't much better. He takes money from Miriam Adelson, the lady who gets
Really?
240.
Wait,
Yeah,
whoa,
dude.
the
Yeah,
Adelsons? I mean, well, the husband's dead
Tallarico,
now.
yeah. He did, huh?
Why would he be
Sheldon
taking
Adelson.
money from them?
Yeah, he for his last campaign running for the state house. Yeah, she put money into his campaign and he took it. And even when he was called out, he didn't give it back. So to me, like you're looking at two candidates that are pretty much pro-Israel. I know Tallarico said that he wouldn't vote for sending Israel offensive weapons, but he didn't say anything about defensive weapons. So, you know what I mean? Um and Crockett has her issues with Israel too. I mean, I've said it before. I'll say it again. We're in a shitty situation in Texas when it comes to the Senate race, right? Because
Hmm.
you have them two that are plenty to criticize, but you sure as hell don't want another John Cornyn or Dan Patrick, or
No.
you know what I mean? Yeah, like we really, for the state itself, we need a major change, right? We need a change of the guard. We need something different. Whatever Republicans say is wrong with the state of Texas, they did it. They've been in power for like 30 years. I don't want to hear that only they can fix it because it was only they that broke it. Um, so yeah, I mean, we need something different, and like I'm I don't know who I'm gonna pick over Tallarico and Crockett, but I have issues with both. You know, Tallarico's
Well, you know my expression, dude. You know my expression. Sometimes you got to pick the cleanest dirty shirt.
right, right, and that's we're in Texas, so like you know we're in the most voter suppressed state. We need a win big time, and it's gonna depend on whether people turn out, and that's the biggest issue in this state is that voter suppression has everybody thinking that it doesn't matter who you vote for, that Republicans are going to steal it anyway. Um, I happen to think that if we can maneuver the ever changing laws here, like we've had 20 different voter laws in the last like I don't know 5 6 years. If you can
Hmm.
navigate through all that, if you can navigate through all that mess and actually get somewhere where you're voting, like do it. Get as many people out there as
So
possible.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm just looking at what Eric Lulove is saying here. That Tallarico, I guess he took this money from a pro gambling hack that was funded by Adelson. That's why when you said Adelson, I mean, basically, that's synonymous with
Yeah,
gambling,
right,
right?
right. Well, and a lot of Islamophobia,
Oh, well, that
you
too.
know,
Yeah.
because they do fund a lot of Islamophobic like think tanks, you know,
Hmm.
and those are the kind of people that spread all this propaganda that hate groups end up using. So, yeah, she's a pretty problematic person. You know, the whole thing was that, you know, I think the big problem with Tallarico came when people mentioned where the money came from and he still, you know, accepted it. Um, I don't, you know, he wasn't my rep in the state. You know, I know.
That's just an interesting place for some anti gam or pro gambling money to show up. I
Yeah,
mean,
well, you know,
I mean,
just
I have to be honest. I'm surprised. I see the guy's videos. I think he seemed like his heart's in the right place. I mean, he says all the right stuff, but so did Fetterman.
yeah,
I'm not putting him in the same category, but you know what I mean.
yeah, you know, Fetterman played the part really well.
Man, that dude, whew, he's
Yeah,
something else.
yeah, he played the part, got in there, and then became who we all thought he was gonna be. You know,
Egberto Willis is in the house, I think.
hey, what's up, Egberto? Yeah, I did the radio with him in DC last week on the Latino Media Collective show.
Hmm.
That was fun. That was a good time. Um, but yeah, oh yeah, Tallarico. I don't know. You know, he's always been pretty popular
Hmm.
in the state, and a lot of it has to do with you know his religious beliefs, and you know he seems like a pretty good, moral, upstanding kind of guy. But what is it people always say about being concerned about the cleanest, shiniest person that got some shit in the closet? You know, so yeah, I
Listen,
don't.
man, that's one reason. If you ever hear anything about me running, it ain't me.
Yeah,
It's a
right.
body snatcher. It's something
Yeah.
because I am here to tell you these skeletons that would cascade. It's a significant amount.
So
But honestly, though, man, I say that, but now my little shit that I thought was, like I don't know, or the stuff I thought that was like would make it where you couldn't run for anything. I'm not even really sure it matters anymore
right. You know,
because I know what I haven't done. You're not gonna find me with any pedophiles. Yeah, you're
yeah.
probably not gonna find. Well, I know you're not gonna find me with any kind of fraud and stuff like that. So, I mean, my only problem is I would never do it because I'm too old. I my ship my ship has passed. I think
Yeah, I wouldn't.
the last thing we need is another 60 something guy trying to tell folks what's up.
Yeah,
I'll do it on here.
yeah, yeah. See, like I don't know that I would put my family through that. It's
Oh,
just
I
such
wouldn't.
an ugly,
It's not worth it. It's
ugly thing. But people have asked me to run, and I considered it when my district was like 60% Latino. But now that they're
it's not now.
districting, no, it's 80% white. Yeah, my
Ooh,
district goes all the way like 30 miles north of me to some rich white, the Woodlands, a white community.
okay.
Yeah, and you know, our current representative was Wesley Hunt because of course, you know. and he's trying to run for the Senate. And I mean, I don't know. I've been
No, honestly, man, I'm in North Carolina, and in my district, the Democrats just don't have anybody.
yeah,
And I, the person that was running against, I don't know, whoever the rep is here, because they're all Republicans. When I go vote in like the midterms, it's going to be all Republicans, and I'm really just going to be voting on issues, right?
right.
And and the Democratic Party had a person, and it was a black person. I don't even know who it was. I wasn't familiar with him, but I swear to goodness, it looked like, when you have these sample ballots, and they have all the candidates and stuff. And it was like this guy had put his Facebook picture or something. I mean, it was just like they just found the guy and said, "We need somebody to run. It's you. Go for it." And nothing. I've always wondered why Democrats, just the party, whatever, hasn't reached out to guys like me and guys like you. Because, well, maybe they're scared we'll tell them the truth.
Maybe we're too progressive, probably.
Oh, well, that too for sure. So look, man, we're closing in on 7 o'clock here. It always goes fast. I like and I guess for folks, um, that are watching us for the first time, this is kind of a new thing that Arturo and I are doing every Thursday, 6 o'clock Eastern, where really, we all have opportunities to hit, specific issues. I have my, finance and politics, stuff that I like to focus on. But I just feel like this is almost like a chat,
Yeah, yeah,
just to kind of, two guys just chopping it up and, and I like, where you're coming from and where I'm coming from. It kind of not a perfect cross section, but we're seeing a lot of different things just based
yeah.
on where we are.
Right. Yeah. There was one issue, and maybe we'll get into it next week. We'll have a better feel for it. But like the economics in Bolivia with the new president, like he canceled fuel subsidies yesterday, and fuel prices like tripled.
Well,
Went up like
were
diesel went up
people
like
out in the street?
180% for diesel. And like, I don't know, Bolivia's economic situation like is tricky, and fuel subsidies have always been you know, a big issue with people. Like they know it's hurting the country, but they can't just get rid of it. And like he was offering some sort of, to try to help offset the cost, and he didn't. And he's only been in
Wow.
power for like a month, and now they're projecting 20% inflation. I was like, oh my God, it just got
Go
so much
figure.
worse.
Wow. I just seen in passing, was it Bolivia and what were the two countries that offered to mediate between the US and Venezuela?
Oh, I don't know. There's a bunch. There's a bunch. I think was Paraguay one of them.
I thought that Bolivia was one of them.
Maybe might have been Bolivia, but they just changed presidencies, and the new guy I think is vowed to cut off relations with Venezuela. So I don't know that they're on the
Mm.
table anymore. But I know a lot of European countries, China, Cuba, like a lot of countries have offered to mediate as a group.
Well, you know what? That would only work if we wanted a solution, though, right?
Right? We don't. Yeah.
So it's the top of the hour. Tell people how to get in touch with you, how to find your newsletter.
Well, my newsletter is Decolonized Journalism, right here on Substack, and if you wanted to find me anywhere on social media, it's at Extreme Arturo, pretty much everywhere. I do numbers on Threads. I don't do numbers on X anymore. So, ever since I got the
No.
beat with Laura Loomer, man, my shit tanked. Yeah.
Oh man. I actually started using Notes as an alternative to what
Yeah.
what used to be called Twitter. And I'm on Threads, but really sparingly.
Yeah.
And I guess the best place, what I call rapid response stuff, where I'm like up in the morning and just putting out something. I do it on Notes because,
Yeah.
I things happen all through the day that don't necessarily require 1,000 word thesis,
Right.
on
Right.
it. And I find, so you can follow me on Notes. Uh, I'd prefer you subscribe or do both, whatever. Um, and I guess, oh, I am almost at 500 paid subscribers.
Almost at 2.
I am
Almost.
almost at 500, man. I have been really working my butt off to earn that support. And so one of the things that I'm doing until I hit 500 paid subscribers, um, you can subscribe to my newsletter for a year for 25 bucks, which,
That's a deal.
yeah, it's a deal. I mean, I just look at it this way. If I can get you in the door for 25 bucks, we'll talk about it next year.
Right.
If I'm just trying to get folks in the door. But yeah, I mean, I guess we should, I think this is going to be our last one of these for the year. Because next week we're getting into Christmas and so on. So in fact, Christmas is what, a week from today, right? So
Yeah.
so or not even a week. Whew, I better get some shopping done.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, if you can, if you can, please think about becoming a paid subscriber. And Arturo, not gonna let the cat out of the bag, but we've got a few things coming in the next few
Yeah, we
weeks.
do.
So it'll be worth it. I promise you.
Yeah.
Anyway, man, I guess until New Year's, um, happy holidays.
Yeah. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to you and yours, man.
Same. Take care, folks, and enjoy the rest of the holidays.